Thanks for tuning in. 1973 muscle cars lost much of their muscle due to emission regulations enacted by the federal government and insurance companies levying higher premiums. However, auto manufacturers still did their best to produce high-performance cars. In this episode, we'll review the quickest quarter-mile cars of 1973. Stay tuned and be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel as we get into the countdown. Number 13. Pontiac Grand Am 455, 15.7 seconds. Pontiac's new effort in the personal luxury sports sedan market was the 1973 Grand Am. It was a mid-size car that featured a unique front end with a flexible Enduro nose cone, similar to the GTO. The name combined the existing Grand Prix and Trans Am nameplates to suggest that it was a car with the luxury of the Grand Prix and the lively performance of the Trans Am. Under the hood was a 455 cubic inch V8 with 8.0 to 1 compression, and produced 250 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. The engine had a high-performance camshaft, 4-barrel carburetor, and dual exhausts that enabled better breathing. The Grand Am 455 had a 3-speed automatic transmission that enabled it to record a best of 15.7 seconds in the quarter mile. Number 12. Chevy Lagona 454, 15.7 seconds. 1973 was the first year of the Chevy Lagona, a mid-size automobile produced by Chevy and the GM A-body platform. The 1973 Laguna was the top-line Chevelle series, positioned above the Malibu with a wide range of body styles like coupes, sedans, and station wagons. The car featured a unique front-end design with a body-colored urethane front-end cap that encompassed the grille and headlights. The overall body shape was sleeker than previous Chevelle models, with a fastback-style roofline on the coupe versions. The Chevy Laguna was powered by a 454 cubic inch V8 with 8.5 to 1 compression, producing 245 horsepower and 375 pound-feet of torque. The engine featured a 4-barrel carburetor, hydraulic lifters, as well as a dual exhaust system. The Laguna had a 3-speed automatic transmission known for its durability and smooth operation. The transmission in the 454 V8 helped the car run a best of 15.7 seconds in the quarter mile. Number 11. Pontiac Grand Prix SJ455, 15.6 seconds. The 1973 Grand Prix SJ boasted a vertical bar V nose grille and a trunk lid that ever so slightly echoed a boat tail. The Enduro front bumper, introduced on other Pontiac models, was also featured here, helping reduce minor impacts and providing a sleeker, more modern front appearance. It also featured a longer, more dramatic body with a new colonnade styling that replaced the previous hardtop with fixed B-pillars and frameless windows for a more rigid body. Although the body was heavier than earlier models, it was built with an emphasis on comfort and presence. Hidden windshield wipers, flush-mounted side windows, and a flowing roofline helped reduce wind drag while enhancing the car's appearance. The heart of the Grand Prix was Pontiac's 455 cubic inch V8, producing 250 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. It featured a high-performance camshaft, 4-barrel carburetor, and dual exhaust that played a vital role in the car's performance. The engine was mated to a 3-speed automatic transmission that enabled the car to sprint and run the quarter mile in 15.6 seconds. Number 10. AMC Javelin AMX 401, 15.4 seconds. The 1973 AMC Javelin AMX 401 was AMC's answer to the most established muscle cars like the Ford Mustang, Chevy Camaro, and Dodge Challenger in the 70s. The AMX aimed at performance enthusiasts who wanted speed and a distinctively styled car. The car featured a long hood with a power bulge hood, a shortened rear deck, a unique front grille design with integrated headlights, and an optional rear spoiler. The design was quite aerodynamic for its time, with a sloping fastback roofline that contributed to its sleek appearance and performance. The side-mounted exhaust ports and racing-inspired body panels were additional nods to the Javelin's motorsport pedigree. Thanks to AMC's success in Trans Am racing, under the hood was a 401 cubic inch V8 that produced 255 horsepower and 345 pound-feet of torque. With an 8.5 to 1 compression ratio, the 455 also featured a high-flow 4-barrel carburetor and high-compression pistons. Despite the reduced output compared to earlier models, the 401 V8 performed pretty well when mated to a 3-speed automatic transmission by running the quarter-mile race in an impressive 15.4 seconds. Number 9. Buick Century GS Stage 1 455, 15.3 seconds. The 1973 Buick GS Stage 1 455 was one of the last of Buick's true muscle cars, combining luxury, performance, and big block power. The Century line used GM's mid-size A-body similar to the Oldsmobile Cutlass, Chevy Malibu, and Pontiac Grand Prix. It traded the 4-door hardtop for a 2-door coupe with the famous colonnade styling, which put an angled rectangular opera window between heavy B and C pillars. Moreover, it had a long hood and short deck, a distinctive grille with vertical bars, body lines that gave it a more refined look, and an optional rear spoiler. The heart of the Buick GS Stage 1 was the 455 cubic inch V8 engine, rated at 270 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. The engine featured high-flow cylinder heads, a high-lift camshaft, a 4-barrel carburetor, and a dual exhaust system. It was mated to a 3-speed manual transmission with a column shifter that helped the car run a best of 15.3 seconds in the quarter mile. Number 8. Dodge Charger SE 440, 15.2 seconds. The 1973 Dodge Charger was focused on being a more upscale and versatile muscle car that could compete with personal luxury cars like the Pontiac Grand Prix and Buick Riviera, while still offering potent V8 engines for performance enthusiasts. The Dodge Charger SE 440's body remained unchanged on its 115-inch wheelbase. However, the grille was revised slightly with rubber blocks to comply with the first of the federal bumpers that required vehicles to be able to absorb a 5-mile-per-hour front impact and 2.5-mile-per-hour rear impact with no damage. The roofline was also modified around the rear quarter windows, and the taillights now comprised 22 separate bulbs. The SE featured a 440 V8 with a 4-barrel carburetor, high-performance camshaft, high-flow intake manifold, and dual exhaust system. It produced 280 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque, as well as a compression ratio of 8.2 to 1. The car's 3-speed automatic was durable and capable of handling the massive torque from the 440 engine as it helped it run the quarter mile in 15.2 seconds. Number 7. Plymouth Barracuda 340, 15.16 seconds. The 1973 Barracuda featured a sleek, muscular design characteristic of the E-body platform. Key design elements included a wide and low stance, a long hood and short deck proportions, a distinctive grille design, prominent fender lines, and an optional rear spoiler. Under the hood was a 340 cubic inch V8 with an 8.5 to 1 compression ratio. It produced 240 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, thanks to a 4-barrel carburetor, high-flow intake manifold, forged steel crankshaft, and dual exhaust system. The engine was mated to a 3-speed automatic transmission that helped the car to run a best of 15.16 seconds in the quarter mile. Are you ready for our top 6 fastest quarter-mile cars of 1973? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, which helps us create more automotive content. Number 6. Corvette Stingray 350 L82, 14.9 seconds. The 1973 Corvette Stingray development was led by Zora Arkus Duntov, often called the father of the Corvette, who was the chief engineer for Corvette at the time, and stylist Bill Mitchell. The project aimed to refine the existing C3 platform, improve performance, and meet new safety and emission standards. The team retained the sleek, swooping lines of the C3 generation, contributing to its aerodynamic profile. Additionally, the car had a low, pointed front end to reduce air resistance, a tapered rear to minimize turbulence, and a removable T-top roof for reduced weight. Zora and the team ensured the car's handling was top-notch. It featured a fully independent suspension system, front and rear stabilizer bars, power steering, and 4-wheel disc brakes for improved stopping power. Under the hood was a 350 cubic inch V8 that produced 250 horsepower and 285 pound-feet of torque. It featured a higher compression ratio of 9 to 1, a more aggressive camshaft profile, high-flow intake and exhaust manifolds, a 4-barrel carburetor, and forged pistons. The engine was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission that enabled it to run the quarter mile in 14.9 seconds. Number 5. Oldsmobile 442 455, 14.9 seconds. The 442, which originally stood for 4-barrel carburetor, 4-speed manual transmission, and 2 exhaust pipes, was developed to maintain the 442's performance image while adapting to new safety and emissions regulations that were becoming stricter in the early 1970s. Aerodynamically, the car boasted a long hood and short deck design, a relatively upright grille, and an optional rear spoiler that improved stability at higher speeds. Under the hood was a 455 cubic inch big block V8 that produced 270 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque. The engine featured a 4-barrel carburetor, cast iron block and heads, hydraulic valve lifters, and a dual exhaust system. The car had a 3-speed manual transmission that helped it run the quarter mile in 14.9 seconds. Number 4. Pontiac GTO 455, 14.7 seconds. When GM's new Colonnade-style intermediate platform debuted in 1973, the GTO reappeared in gorgeous new sheet metal, artfully differentiated from its Chevy, Buick, and Oldsmobile siblings. Many improvements were made up front, from larger engine bays for big block V8s to stiffer perimeter frames, radial tires, power disc brakes, and computer-designed suspensions. The 1973 Pontiac GTO came with a 455 cubic inch V8, which provided plenty of low-end torque but was somewhat detuned compared to earlier versions. The V8 produced 250 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. It was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, which enabled it to record an impressive 14.7 seconds in the quarter mile. Number 3. Chevy Camaro Z28, 14.69 seconds. A 73 Camaro was an all-new car, but its basic mechanical layout was familiar and engineered much like its predecessor. It had a unibody structure utilizing a front subframe, arm and coil spring front suspension, and rear leaf springs. A lift of the long hood would make you come face-to-face with the potent 350 cubic inch V8 capable of producing 245 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. The engine featured a 9-to-1 compression ratio and was equipped with a 4-barrel carburetor. This engine was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission that enabled it to perform well with good acceleration, recording a 14.69 second quarter-mile pass. Number 2. Corvette Stingray 454, 14.4 seconds. The 1973 model year introduced the first major redesign for the C3, most notably a transition from chrome front bumpers to a body-colored urethane front fascia. The 1973 Stingray 454 LS4 had a sleek styling with a shark body design. Moreover, it boasted an independent rear suspension, which significantly improved handling, particularly in cornering, compared to many of its competitors of that time. Under the hood was a 454 cubic inch LS4 V8 engine that produced 275 horsepower and 395 pound-feet of torque. It's the biggest big block that GM ever installed into a Corvette, weighing about 200 pounds more than a small block. Unfortunately, it was less aggressive than earlier high-compression versions, but it still made an impact in the muscle car segment. When mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, it propelled the car to run the quarter mile in 14.4 seconds. Number 1. Pontiac Trans Am 455 SD, 13.54 seconds. In 1973, the 455 was offered as a special version called the Super Duty. This model was unique because it consisted of a beefier cylinder block, 4-bolt main bearings, and added material in different locations for additional strength. The 1973 Trans Am 455 SD featured a functional shaker hood scoop that helped feed cold air into the engine for improved performance. It also had front and rear spoilers that reduced lift at higher speeds and heavy-duty suspension components, including stiffer springs, firmer shocks, and larger sway bars. These improved handling and reduced body roll during aggressive driving. The 455 cubic inch V8 boasted an 8.4-to-1 compression ratio and could produce 290 horsepower and 395 pound-feet of torque, but gearheads claimed it was underrated as the actual output was around 330 horsepower. The engine was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission that enabled the car to run a best of 13.54 seconds in the quarter mile. Thanks for watching. Which of these fastest 73 quarter-mile muscle cars is your favorite? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to click the like button and hit the bell icon to be notified when we release new content.